First, let's just make sure that we all understand what we're talking about with multi-touch attribution in the first place. To begin with, the idea is that if somebody were to click on an ad today and then not necessarily check out right away, but maybe they signed up for an email, they get an email a few days later, they click on that, they visit the site again, or still considering purchasing, and then they're browsing around the internet and they see a display ad for the product that they were looking at or a related product. They click on that and eventually check out. You only get one order, but all three of these ads would claim that they contributed to and therefore deserve credit for that sale. But if you take all of them individually, you'd appear to have three orders when you obviously only have one. So you have to divvy up that order according to the contributions of those various touch points. Attribution models generally are a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there isn't necessarily a right one based on any business context. It's going to determine where you put reinvestment, but there are some wrong ones. And first and last touch are great examples of that. And here's why. In our example, the display ad at the end would get 100% of the credit, but because it was a retargeting ad, by definition, those shoppers had already been to your site before. And if you don't give some credit to whatever attracted them to the site, then you won't have any shoppers to continue to try and retarget. This is effectively choking out the top of your shopping funnel. The first touch, on the other hand, is like chumming the water. You're not actually trying to catch all of the fish that might respond to that signal. And so if you were to only reward that first ad click, for example, then you wouldn't have rewarded the channels that helped nurture that shopper along and eventually actually closed the deal. So these are both necessary components, and frankly, so are the touches in the middle. Now, these are the two most frequently used default answers, especially last click. And that's just because you're trying to avoid that duplication of revenue. You're trying not to count the same dollars twice. And it does that, but it does it badly. There are ways to game this system. Retargeting, for example, usually only contributes about half as much as it actually claims before attribution. But if you look at coupon affiliates, for example, they only enter the equation after the decision to buy has been made. And if you were to measure the incrementality of their contribution to that process, you'd find it was basically nothing. And that has to do with the fact that they only come in after the decision has been made. Now, if you're new to multi-touch attribution, as this question implies, then my recommendation is to default to a time decay model. This is available both in Google Analytics when you're looking at cross channels. It's also available in Google Ads as an attribution model, although that is only within the Google Ads clicks. Time decay rewards the actions that are most close in time to the actual purchase, and the assumption is that that should correlate. If you have, however, a very expensive or highly considered purchase, then that first touch ends up being a bit more like lead generation and ends up mattering more in a way that, say, t-shirts wouldn't. So anyway, I hope that helps explain the drawbacks of both of those models and gives you a better alternative.